In this video series, we are going to study science chapters of grade 10 SEE exams. Now we are going to study biology part, chapter reproduction. So in this part, we are going to discuss a topic that is sexual reproduction in angiosperms, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, so this explanation is for examination preparation. Actually, it is not the detailed explanation of the topic. Okay, it is made for examination preparation. It is a note, so it is of 3 marks or 4 mark questions, right? So here the question will be asked, explain the sexual reproduction in plants. So for this question, mainly you have to draw the diagram. Actually, diagram is asked in this question, and along with diagram you have to give a small explanation, right? So diagram is this one. You need not to draw complete flower, sepals, petals, androecium, gynoecium. It is not necessary to show. The actual diagram is this one. Yes, the actual question is double fertilization in angiosperm. Yes, so this is the question. You have to show double fertilization in this case in the diagram. So this is the diagram of pistil, female reproductive part. Okay, stamen, sepal, petal need not to show over here. Pistil, this is the pistil part, which is female reproductive part, and the female reproductive part pistil is made up of 3 parts: stigma, this upper part, style, this slender one, and ovary is this swollen part. Okay, so stigma, style, ovary. So these 3 parts are shown here. And stigma, there are pollen grains landing on the stigma. After pollination, pollen grains get stuck on the stigma because there is a sticky fluid on the surface of stigma, and one of the pollen grain starts moving down through pollen tube. You can see over here in the ovary, this swollen part, there are parts like ovule. There is a ovule inside ovary, and inside ovule there is embryo sac. Okay, embryo sac contains 8 cells in it. These 8 cells are arranged in this manner. 3 cells are here antipodal cells. Okay, 2 cells in the middle are secondary nucleus, and 3 cells at the bottom are 2 are synergids on 2 sides, and the cell in the middle is egg cell. This middle cell is the actual female gamete over here, right? So these are the parts in ovary. Now after pollination, pollen grains get stuck on the stigma, and one of the pollen grain starts moving down by making pollen tube. Okay, so on the way this pollen grain, male gamete, divides into 2. It divides into 2 equal parts, 2 by somatic mitotic division, and there are 2 male gametes formed, okay, inside the pollen tube. These 2 male gametes move down through this pollen tube, and finally these 2 male gametes reach at this point. This is micropylar end. Okay, yes, actually this end should be on top, and this is the chaliceal end. Okay, so when development occurs, this part slowly bends down and the top part comes at the bottom, and bottom part remains at the top. This is chaliceal end, micropylar end. Anyway, 2 male gametes reach over here, and the first male gamete fuses with egg cell. This is the actual fertilization, right? And the other one moves forward and fuses with secondary nucleus, right? So this way 2 fusion occurs in a single fertilization. That is why fertilization and in angiosperm is called double fertilization, right? Okay, so after fertilization, these egg cell develops into seed, and this secondary nucleus develops into endosperm. Yes, so this egg cell develops into zygote first, then from zygote it develops more and it becomes seed. Okay, so after fertilization, remaining part of the flower get degenerated. Sepals, petals, stamens all get degenerated because their function is over now, and this part, stigma, style, also get degenerated, and only this part remains in the flower. Okay, this whole part, ovary, develops into fruit, right? And the egg cell or the ovule part develops into seed, right? Ovary develops into fruit, ovule develops into seed. So this way fertilization, sexual reproduction takes place in angiosperm. So this is the actual process. Now you have to give a small explanation for this one. Explanation is this way: sexual reproduction in angiosperm. After pollination, pollen grains settle on the stigma, and a pollen grain starts moving down by forming pollen tube. It divides into two male gametes on its way towards ovule. In embryo sac of ovule, first male gamete fuses with egg cell and second gamete fuses with secondary nucleus. After fertilization, egg in ovule develops into seed and ovary develops into fruit. Here two fusions take place in a single fertilization in angiosperm, so it is called double fertilization. So this is the explanation, because it is of only 3 marks or 4 marks along with diagram. Okay, this is sexual reproduction in angiosperms or flowering plants.